Janitorial Manager presents the Business of Cleaning podcast, the podcast that brings you the information you need to be successful in the cleaning industry. The Business of Cleaning podcast provides in-depth interviews with successful personalities from the commercial cleaning industry, as well as discussing the trending topics that matter to you and your organization.
And welcome into the Business of Cleaning podcast, your number one source for information on the commercial cleaning industry. We release new episodes monthly, live from the Janitorial Manager Studios located in Toledo, Ohio. I'm Tim Clagg, the Marketing Communications Specialist here at Janitorial Manager and your host of the Business of Cleaning podcast. We kick off spring welcoming in Adam Povlitz, CEO of Anago Cleaning Systems. He is a certified franchise executive and cleaning certified expert. Welcome into the show, Adam, and it's such a great way to have you in here during the month of March Madness, and I know it has certainly been very busy for you and Anago and just different events that you've been attending over the last month or so.
Hey Tim, thank you for having me. Yes, it is. The first quarter is the chaos quarter, so we're almost through though.
So you earned your MBA at Miami, the U. It's safe to say, I think, for all the sports fans, the U is back. Their run through the college football playoffs and into the national championship game. Unfortunately, Indiana taking the crown though and being the national champions for the first time in program history.
So I got my undergrad from University of Florida. So I as much as I root Canes, I am a Gator through and through. So I'm very much looking forward to March Madness because they look like they might pull it off. Fingers crossed for a repeat.
One thing that I think fans got accustomed to, there was that ISO cam. It seemed like every playoff game, every big moment that was on Michael Irvin, the legendary wide receiver from the U and the Dallas Cowboys Hall of Famer. I mean, I think he was still maybe could have laced up and put on the pads and got out there with the team.
Yeah, no, I want some of whatever gave him that much energy, but I think it might be illegal, so maybe not.
I think you're on the right path. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Anago was founded in 1989 by your father, who already had owned a cleaning business prior with some family, but you guys decided to up and move, pack up, moving from Michigan, which is right up the road from us, about 10 minutes north, all the way down to the Sunshine State in Florida. What do you remember first about that move and then the decision to, hey, we've been involved in a family business, but now we're going to go from one family business just to being kind of involved with ourselves?
So, man, I was a little guy when that happened, but I remember my grandmother had moved to Cocoa Beach, Florida area, because everyone from Michigan ultimately moves to Florida. Now, whether they move half back or not, that's another decision. But I think my dad saw that, every day was a beautiful sunny day in South Florida, and I'm from Michigan, so I'm allowed to rag on him a little bit. But there's a lot of gray days in Michigan, and so when you see it, you go like, man, I could kind of get used to this. And so I don't know. There was no Anago or new company on the mind. He actually went to work for someone else when we first moved down here. I think it was just the old, the classic moving to warmer weather and obviously being close to his mother. But definitely, and all the lies we were told about the mosquitoes down here, like, oh, the mosquitoes will kill your dog, and it's like, it didn't quite work like that.
There's a fun story, and I kind of want you to kind of discuss it regarding the Anago name, the origins of the name, and kind of what it actually means.
Yeah. So the story is something to the effect of essentially that it was a friend who actually was using the name for something else. It was like a medical mask or something like that, and he loved the name. He was originally thinking of just some sort of building maintenance company or something generic. He liked the name. He goes, that's kind of cool. He tells his mother, my grandmother, that had moved, and she was a Greek woman, very classic traditional Greek woman, and she goes, oh my goodness, that Anago name, it means blessed by God. And so then it's like, well, I can't pick any other name from here.
Right.
It turns out, it turns out, and the funny thing is, it turns out it's sort of it's like a Greek Latin translation, so it doesn't actually mean blessed by
Mhm.
God, which that's okay. I mean, but it actually does mean to guide or uplift. And so
Mhm.
we felt like that, it ends up being even more appropriate, right? Because that's how we feel like we're doing that with our franchisees, like guiding and
Yeah.
uplifting them through small business ownership.
Anago operates under a different franchise model. Can you discuss your guys' three-tier model?
Yeah, so most franchises that typical people are typically familiar with are two-tier. So Subway, corporate, and then the franchise people who own the restaurants. Anago and a lot of commercial cleaning models are three-tier. So I lead the corporate office, and then we sell what's called a master franchise, which is like a territory manager, let's call it for simplicity's sake. And then within that, they also act like a mini franchisor, and they're selling the janitorial franchises in their territory. So most people, I flip it upside down and say, okay, so there's the janitorial companies, and they go, cleaning's not rocket science. Most of that work is done at night. But how did they get those customers?
Mhm.
Right. So suddenly you have to say, okay, well, they need a website and a sales team to get the customers. And now they've got the customers, and so they have to turn around and they have to bill the customers and do daytime customer service. So it turns into this 24/7 job, which is just pure chaos. And so what our model does is it says, let's separate the evening work, right? The cleaning aspect it from the daytime work of it, right? Sales, marketing, and back office. And so essentially the unit franchise is in charge of the cleaning business, and the master franchise is the white collar of the business, handling sales, marketing, and administration.
How have you seen the franchise model in commercial cleaning evolve over the last decade or so?
I mean, I think in terms of like the core structure of the model, I think it's pretty consistent. Where I think I've seen the most evolution is definitely in technology and support. That's
Yeah.
that's where, frankly, our focus is. None of my competitors have a better mop. No one's got a better vacuum. We're all sourcing from similar suppliers. But what our focus has been, and at least Anago's evolution, has been all about the customer service side of the business and evolving that, right? Most of the competition out there, it still is, a book where you leave a note in, and like who cleans this place even. And so we've decided, our focus has been like, how do I make that pain point as easy as possible to address? And so that's why we've created some proprietary software that we use to really make it easy for customers to get, anything fixed that they need.
You, like a lot of people, didn't come from a cleaning background. I know your father owned the company. However, 2009, right after the recession, right after the crazy housing market collapse, you came over from IBM. Um, what do you remember? You had some conversations with your father where he kind of persuaded you to come over to Anago. What do you remember the most that kind of stood out, or your biggest takeaways from the conversation?
So, I mean, I think, I was at IBM, right, during that whole, economic upheaval period. And, one of the things that I was actually charged with there was I was essentially given a spreadsheet. I was an analyst, and I was given a spreadsheet, and it said, here's a bunch of employee numbers and salary packages and exit packages. And I was charged with helping them determine essentially who was going to get laid off. And you go from that, and you're going, wait a minute, so I could be at one of these mega corporations, and 10, 15, 20 years from now, they're going to hire some other 20 something year old kid who's deciding my fate from an employee number. You go, that doesn't sit well with me. And so my dad said, listen, I think I got the tiger by the tail with this thing. You got to come check it out. The model is a little wonky, but it works. But he did say, he goes, when you start, he was like, you're not some silver spoon. You're not coming in and the general manager or the founder's son or something like that. And so he goes, but if you do it, your first job is you're going to be a telemarketer during the day, and you're going to be cleaning at night. And so I was cleaning daycares when I moved. I leave from corporate finance to cleaning daycares. It was a hell of a transition.
Wow. And very too. I mean, we all have a little bit of an ego, right? Kind of swallowing your pride, right? And
Oh
saying,
yeah.
okay, I can make it through this, and earning respect, right? Especially in the industry, goes a long way in showing, hey, I'm down here with you guys, frontline workers, and earning that respect. 10 years later, as Drake said, you started from the bottom. Now you're here. You become the CEO. What was the hardest part for you, and what do you still think about that day that it came to fruition when you were named CEO?
Well, first, I'm glad we were able to sneak a Drake quote into the interview here.
Absolutely.
um, you know, I would say, I, I, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me on that day was like just the weight of it all, right? I mean, it went from, okay, I'm supporting senior leadership, I'm supporting the franchisees, to like now I'm supporting everyone. I think it was a mind shift of
Mhm.
now I'm not, now I'm supporting every employee, I'm supporting their family. It felt very heavy, very fast. In a good way. I appreciate the responsibility and I take it seriously, but it was very much, um, it went from a job and moved into I don't want to say a calling per se, but more of it was very mission
Yeah.
oriented from that point forward.
What were some of the biggest things you wanted to continue to do to honor your father who built it from the ground up, 1989 when he ran the business? And what were you thinking, hey, big picture, I've got some ideas. How did discuss those two things?
So, on one hand, when I came to Anago, it wasn't, it was a company, but it wasn't a brand. It was, my dad was like the classic entrepreneur, like, hey, slap a logo on it and you're Anago too if you got a dollar and a dream. He was always, what's, the next big idea. And so, on one hand, it was like, okay, we need to streamline things. We need to create a national brand image. We
Mhm.
need to create, SOPs. But on the other hand, I mean, the culture was something that I would say was all about, he would even, I joined after he had been there 20 years. Every
Yeah.
morning when he came in, he walked through the entire office and said good morning to everyone, knew everyone's names, knew all their kids' names, knew if their kid was in a, you know, baseball game the other day and asked how it went. And so it's like, how do you grow? It was that kind of, what do you call it? That you know, structure of like, how do you grow and create structure and really corporatize it to some degree while also saying like, okay, our roots are, a family man who
Mhm.
created a family brand.
And attention to detail like that goes a long way with your employees, not just, hey, Dave, hey, John. But as you said, hey, how did Billy do the other day in the baseball game? And showing, hey, not
Yeah.
just do I know his name, I know his story, I know what's going on, and
Yeah.
taking a part and being active in that. That at any business, that certainly goes a long way. Um, Transition. How has the company gone through transformation since you moved into the CEO position?
So, I would say the first, I've been CEO now for a little over 10 years. The first handful of years, I would describe it as like I was learning like how to CEO. I had never held the CEO role before. And so a lot of it is just sort of bumping your head on things and going, okay, what do we do? Where do we go? Okay, what decisions do we make? And I felt like we were very reactive in how we operated.
Mhm.
Hey, a franchisee wants this, we need this to get this client. And so it was just, okay, do it. Yeah, do it. Okay, yeah, do that. Um, and I would say now in the back half of my, the back nine, so to speak, of my CEO tenure, I've made it a point to, number one, just build out my senior leadership team, and make it so that we are much more proactive.
Yeah.
I think a lot of decision making was funneling through me. And I'm a sharp cookie, right? I can make a lot of decisions, but eventually, I become my company's own bottleneck when literally everything is flowing
Yeah.
through me. And so it was then turning around and going, wait a minute, I need to find people, that deliberately find people that are smarter than me on their particular, aspect of the business, and meet with them and empower them and just let them run, and be more, sage advisor than, person who's the point person on everything.
It sounds like that might be the biggest or one of the biggest leadership lessons that you learned while you were, have been in charge as a CEO. What were some of those early lessons from yourself from a leadership perspective that you learned?
From a leadership perspective, I think a few things. One, right, you have to learn how to coach people and not accomplish tasks. It's very easy if for me, as for someone, it's like, okay, if we have to do X, let's just do X. Okay, I'll take the lead, we'll do it. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying a minute ago, right? Whereas at the end of the day, if you want to scale something, you need a lot of people who can do that role in terms of taking on a project or taking on a client or a role or whatever it may be, and just helping them understand all of the things that you factor in your decision making process, so that they're able to capture that. I would say, that has been like the biggest one for me. And honestly, I feel like a broken record here, but it's like, and how do you do that without making the business lose its soul? It has to be something where it's like, okay, we're a business of people, and and frankly, happy people work harder, want to be there more, contribute, more willingly and more excitedly, and ultimately result in happier customers and a growing business.
Your approach has been simple, straightforward quote that you had shared. What can we do for you to help you grow? Kind of discuss where kind of that mentality came from.
So yeah, coming into Anago, I was probably in my late 20s at this point, and like I mentioned, with my father, he goes, all right, you're gonna. I cleaned, I telemarketed, I did, customer sales, I did customer service, and that was before I even moved to the corporate office. And then you come to the corporate office, and my first role there was I was traveling the country, meeting with the master franchisees that were already in existence. Um, and so I don't know, 27, 28 years old at this point. And these folks had been in business with my father
Mhm.
for 5 years, 10 years, and more in some cases. And so it's like, who the heck am I to tell them how to run their business? And so you have to come in very much with like a servant leadership approach of like, listen, I'm here to help. What is it that
Right.
we can do to help you grow your business? And I think that mentality, has carried forward and through the organization since I've, moved up the ranks. And it keeps our mission extremely simple, right? At the end of the day, if our franchisees are happy and growing, so are we.
We're talking to Adam Povlitz, CEO of Anago Cleaning Systems. Big decisions comes big rewards, and certainly right on the onslaught of COVID-19, a time early on, a lot of uncertainty. You guys locked in, committed to growth during that time, and developed a goal within 2 years of, hey, we want to be as a whole company, $100 million company, and you guys committed to that. Talk about the vision and the ideas that lead to successfully reaching and achieving that goal in a short time.
Yeah, so we, going into COVID, I think that tested everybody's mettle. I think and it challenged every idea any company had of what
Yeah.
leadership looks like, and how do you move forward, and when pure chaos, times of chaos like that. And for me, again, I was this was probably the tail end of me learning to CEO, as I was telling you earlier. We didn't know what to do. So we said, okay, we just need to communicate. That's how we're going to handle this. And so it started as literally twice a week calls with the entire franchise system. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't. Here's what we know you should do. Here's what we're still waiting on. Anything and everything, from cleaning related stuff to PPP loans.
Yeah.
Everything. And you start seeing that, in a situation like that, where nobody knows. I mean, just have someone stepping into the void and saying, "Okay, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to step in and just start moving." It showed me a lot about, number one, just how often you have to cast the vision of like, here's what we're doing, we're okay, we're gonna make it, here's where we're going, um, and 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 then just if you do that, how you're able to get everyone kind of rowing in the same
Yeah.
direction and moving. And so coming kind of to the tail end of the worst of COVID, we were billing somewhere in the neighborhood of around 67-ish million in system-wide revenue. Um, and I sat down with our leadership team and I said, we need to, I want to figure out a way. How do we have some momentum coming here. How do we figure out a way to become $100 million brand? And I want to do it in 24 months. And we sat down, we worked with a few of our franchisees, and we came up with a five-pronged strategy at the time. Um, and we were actually able to do it, essentially over 50% growth
Wow.
in 19 months. And so, yeah, very, very exciting stuff. And then, of course, stupid me, I go, I'm going to stick my neck out again. And I go, I want to be a $300 million brand, and I want to do it by the end of 2028. And hey, we're halfway there, so getting close.
Okay, what lessons? Okay, we did it in 19 months to reach our goal of 100 million. What are you the biggest takeaways that you guys are implementing and applying to reaching the new goal of 300 million here, which, our counter, we're less than 2 years away, right? Closing in fast on that target for you guys.
So, I think number one, it was a heavy investment in our franchisees, right? So one of the biggest things that we did is we said, coming out of COVID, we say, all right, everybody needs to grow. We've all been suffering a little bit through this time, and so we invested, first and foremost in. We said, listen, we're going to give royalty rebates on anyone who hires salespeople, so that we can help reduce, if not fully offset the costs of you hiring more salespeople. At the end of the day, while we are in commercial cleaning, Anago, the franchise system, is a sales business, sales and marketing business. And so we said, how do we invest more heavily in that? And so we've invested in major training partnerships to help everyone sell better, invested in helping them hire salespeople. We recently even hired, several more people on our marketing team. And then we said, okay, we need to bring our sales and marketing game to the A+ level, ultimately, and so again, in support of our franchisees, to help them grow. And if we can help them grow, we too will grow. And for the record, it's the end of 2028, so I actually have a little bit
Okay.
more
Okay.
time.
I didn't mean to hit the panic button there for you. You're very active, sharing a lot of resources on LinkedIn, personal experiences. You are a contributor for Forbes as well, monthly articles there, sharing all of that on your personal LinkedIn page. Something that was really interesting, and I kind of want to dive in and talk to, and I'm just gonna kind of paraphrase some of this and let you kind of dive in. It was about doing the right thing. One of your markets had kind of went south. Owner was dealing with some serious illness, and you said we had a choice. We could have walked away. The contracts, as you said in the post, were protected from the corporate office, local debts. You had two choices to protect the balance sheet, let system fail, or do the right thing and take the hit. You guys decided to do the right thing, and actually, you know, staying with the course, uh, you guys actually turned it around and benefited tremendously. But talk about that and the takeaways, that just kind of goes with who you guys are, the values, because that sticks out and says a lot to me about just who you guys are as a company.
So yeah, no, that was definitely one of the more stressful times, if I remember. Um, yeah, one of the markets, we had a longtime owner in there. He was dealing with some health issues, and they approached us and said, "Hey, do you want to take back the market?" And ultimately, when we looked into the financials, there was no money, and it was time to pay the franchisees to the tune of a decent sized six-figure amount.
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, you look at it and you go, okay, option one, let the market fail and move on. Um, For me, I've always had kind of a heart for the janitorial franchise owner. That's even in my, when I talk with like new potential franchise buyers, when everyone reads
Hmm.
the default and termination section, right? And people get afraid of contract defaults, and you go, listen, and I go, listen, my bright red line is you don't pay the unit level franchisee, the guy who's out cleaning floors and toilets all night. That's my bright red line.
Yeah.
That guy's doing everything to make his life work, and so he doesn't get paid. Like that. That's it. And so, not something specific to that previous owner. Again, health issues and a lot of other circumstances
Yeah.
surrounding it. But you go, we can let it fail, or we go, what would I want to have happen to me if it were my brand? And we said, you know what? Let's, I think we took out a line of credit. We covered a lot of the franchise. I mean, I spent a lot more than just that 1 month that was due to
Yeah.
get that market, where it needed to be. Um, and since then, we actually found a new owner for that market, and that it's grown 700% since then. I
Wow.
mean, the market has absolutely, exploded in terms of its growth and its potential. And um, even one of the janitorial franchisees who I remember, I have. I could probably dig up the file where I had like a little. I basically I had her sign a promissory note, and I said, "Here's how much we're gonna loan you." Um, and essentially like, but I need you to stay with me and I won't ask you to pay it back. um, and I think just as of maybe last year, maybe the year before, she was doing $1 million in revenue just as her janitorial franchise. And so you go, it's amazing to see, what people in the right headspace and the right heart space can do when things bottom out, if people align and invest in each other.
And it says a lot about you guys too, and the logo behind you guys and who you are, and what you guys are trying to do, big picture wise. Kudos to you guys. Um, as AI, you guys are focused on technology, as we were talking earlier, becomes more common in business operations. Uh, which human skills do you believe will become even more valuable in the cleaning industry?
So yeah, I mean, I think that's where it's interesting because AI is going to seemingly replacing as much of the busy work as it possibly can
Right.
very quickly, right? I mean,
Right.
we have like Google Workspace in our office, and you don't even have to write your own emails half the time. You can kind of have at least give a first draft. It's amazing what it can do. But I think it's interesting because I think two things. One, um, expertise will never go out of style, right? I mean, you can say, "Hey, draft a legal contract that says X, Y, and Z," and I've done it, right? And then you send it over to your attorney, and they're like, "Yeah, and I've had 20, 30 years of experience, and this is why you don't want to say that, or you definitely need to add this." And I think that's going to happen in every organization. But then I also think that means it's incumbent upon us to get that expert level knowledge to as many employees as we possibly can, because our intention is not at all by any stretch. I mean, I'm very big on the AI is not going to replace you, but people who know how to use it might.
Yeah. Have a
um,
leg up
I
big
think
time.
that's the reality of the world we're in, and so I'm encouraging that. We actually are signing with a company to give my entire team an AI training. It's like I don't know how many week AI
Oh, that's
training
awesome.
course to ensure everyone understands it, knows how to use it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it goes back to, at least thus far until we get to like, Will Smith, I Robot. You know what I mean? The machine doesn't have the soul, the culture. It doesn't understand that. And I think it's that human touch, that cultural element that really is going to be the differentiator. I think it'll be
Yeah.
interesting when so many things go the way of AI and robotics, and then it'll turn around and go the other way where it'll be like, well, yeah, I can get anything I want from a robot chef, but I'm going to pay extra to go where like a human actually cooked this meal because that's
Right.
unique at that point. Um, so I think it'll come full circle where the human touch will become that much more important yet again.
As long as we stay away from the hover chairs that are in Wally.
Well,
My daughter, my 3.5-year-old, is obsessed with watching Wally right now. So we continue to we're kind of having that discussion of early AI for what she understands. Um, we talked earlier about you writing articles for Forbes. You wrote an article here in early 2026 about how you think that this year, 2026, is going to be the year of experience, commerce, and franchising. Can you tell our listeners what will carry the shift and why?
So yeah, so as everything becomes more automated, I mean, again, part of that is a good thing, right? It gets a lot of the busy work out of the way. But at the end of the day, if every company from the Fortune 100 companies down to the smallest janitorial company, we all have access, to some degree to the same level of knowledge now, right? Knowledge is the commodity at this point, with the rise of AI. So everybody knows it, and I think what you're going to see is there's going to be a lot of small businesses that start from a proverbial garage, and ultimately grow into these mega million-billion-dollar businesses, in terms of what they can do to automate. But on the flip side, you have to say, well, wait a minute. If all of this can be done automatic, what's left for the businesses to do to really differentiate themselves? Because it's like, I'm sure tech companies can write 50 different, I don't know, email marketing programs or social media programs or whatever. The differentiator is going to be like, okay, about to buy from your company. And what does it feel like when I go through that buying experience with you? Is it something where it's cold and I'm talking to an AI the entire time, and I don't feel like my needs are met? Or are the humans that are still employed there the ones that are going to go, hey, we're going to use this AI to advance the experience, speed things up, get you what you want faster. But at the end of the day, the company has that soul that
Yeah.
says, okay, we're here to take care of you, and we're just using this as a tool to help do it better and faster.
Right now, there's a little bit of uncertainty, right? Cost of goods going up, especially obviously right now. The cost at the tank is kind of increasing quite a bit due to everything going on. Um, when client budgets are extremely tight, how should cleaning companies approach those tough pricing conversations without resorting to lowering their rates if possible?
So yeah, I think everyone has been inflated out, right? I mean, coming out of COVID, it was whatever percent, some obnoxious percent for year after year for several years now. And so on one hand, I know for Anago's sake, we're never going to be the cheapest. I'm not going to get in a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to, like, good luck, good luck finishing first. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
So for us, number one, I think, you can have the conversations with the customers, but I think it's about transparency, and it's about, what is increasing. It's not, hey, we're just increasing this arbitrary amount and for no particular reason. It's, hey, let me request a meeting with you, Mr. Customer, and I have to walk you through. Here is what our chemical costs have gone up for over the last 3 years or 5 years. Here is what minimum wage has gone up over the last however many years. And oh, by the way, there's still, two, three more increases on the horizon of how minimum wage is going to go
Yeah.
up. So I'm not looking to make more profit on cleaning your office. What I'm looking to do is make sure that I'm paying our folks a fair wage and covering the costs that we have. And if you want cheap, how do I say it? Well, you're going to get what you pay for eventually.
The old adage,
And
yep.
and please keep my number when they fail, because we'll be happy to take you on at a rate that is reasonable for everybody.
What are some red flags that a cleaning company may be underpricing their services in order to win or keep existing business?
So a longer term, you have to look at, okay, well, are you able to cut that price because you're cutting into your own profit, and how much so? And then the question is, like, is it worth the headache?
Mhm.
Second, I would say, is it because you're hiring cheaper labor or reducing pay to your employees? in which case, frankly, your turnover is going to go through the roof. And then you're saving money, but you're spending that much more dealing with all the turnover and having to hire, fire, and train again. Um, and then lastly, like what is your customer attrition rate overall, right? Are you seeing that more customers are canceling, and why, right? Is it because you're uh, using less chemical and the place isn't as clean,
Yeah.
doesn't smell good? Your employees are unhappy because they're being paid less or being hired at less pay. I mean, it's a very, very slippery slope, in my opinion, and that's like why I said that's just an it's an area. While I've done it, I know I'm confident we've done it and had to do it. Um, it's always an economic decision and never a decision of like we're going to reduce
Yeah.
quality. And if we have to reduce quality, we've historically bowed out and said, look, and this isn't going to work if this is the price you need. And like I said, keep my number when the company that's offering that price does a horrible job.
Legacy, when eventually 20, 30 years, 40 years even, when you decide, hey, my time as CEO might be done. Maybe a family member, maybe you know, son or daughter, because we do see a lot of it passed down in the industry. When your time as CEO uh, is complete, what would you like your legacy to be, and what do you think is the biggest thing that you would want to be taken away from your time as CEO?
Well, yeah, from a passing it down standpoint, my I have three kids under seven, so it's a very far off conversation if
Yes.
anyone's going to get involved in that regard. And if they did, I would say also, that one of the things that my father did a great job at. I think there's a lot of family businesses where they pass it down to the next generation, and the son or daughter steps in because it was their parents' wish for them to do and not necessarily their passion and something that they were excited. A lot of times it's like the next logical thing, like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to go into the family business. My father did a really good job at making sure that I wanted it. I think that's number one. That's absolutely crucial because if your kids don't really want it and it's just like, that's what I'm supposed to do, I think that's why the stats are kind of pretty terrible on like second and third generation businesses where it's like, they start failing pretty rapidly. And I think it's because that generation, if they're not passionate about it, it doesn't get them out of bed and excite them every day, it's just not going to work. Um, my legacy, I don't know. I don't think about my legacy, frankly. I think right now I think my legacy is figuring out, how to be a good dad at this point. I mean, and
Yeah,
I'm, I,
I
if,
understand
if
that.
if I wind up with a legacy from Anago, cool. Great. That would be exciting. He came, he built, he hung out with his kids. Maybe that was.
And man, it's so important. So many things, so many. You only get so many first. Like, I mean, there was just a stat. My gosh, I was reading it. It was, by the time your kid is like 18 years old, they've already spent 90% of the time they're gonna spend with you.
Yeah,
And immediately I got sad and I'm like, okay. I grabbed my
yeah,
three. I'm like, you're gonna come here. You're gonna snuggle up. We're gonna watch a movie.
yeah.
You're 100% right. Like, man, those things. Ooh, somebody cut some onions in here. Um, but last thing, Adam, and then we'll let you go. Um, for the scope of the industry, 2026, and kind of looking in the next few years, what do you see as CEO, and you're in it daily, you're having conversations, meeting with tons of people. Um, do you see any new bottlenecks, any new industry issues, or is it, hey, it's going to be the same thing we've been kind of trying to improve day by day, year by year, week by week kind of thing?
Um, I mean, it's definitely an industry that's not, at the top of everyone's list for when you say, commercial cleaning and innovation, it's almost like saying like jumbo shrimp, like an oxymoron. It's like it's not a place where people are going, yeah, this is where we're going to spend our innovation dollars. So there is definitely like a slow and steady to it. But on the other side, I also would say obviously anything with like AI and robotics could very quickly flip flip
Yeah.
the industry on its head a little bit. But again, then it turns into like, okay, now you see the AI companies right now where everything's this like race for infrastructure. I think until we get to Rosie the robot, I think we have time. I think it's going to be it's a people business that happens to be in cleaning, and so if you know how to manage your people and build relationships, I think frankly, I think this will probably be one of the last industries that AI touches, just given the cost parameters and everything like that of the industry versus the budgets of the customers. And so I think it's a strong industry to be in for the foreseeable future, frankly.
Adam, thank you so much for taking your time, sharing your story, your journey, and your wisdom with us on the cleaning industry. Where can our listeners and people watching the video portion connect with you online if they have any additional questions or if they just want to network with you? How can they do that?
Sure. We are on all the social media. We're anagocleaning.com. It's ANAGO cleaning.com. And then Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. And then I'm very active personally on LinkedIn. So just type in Adam Povlitz and shoot me a note, and I will be sure to get back to you.
He's very active, sharing a lot of articles, a lot of great information. So you will want to give him a follow just for that. Do you have your own individual? I know company newsletter, but do you have your own individual newsletter that you send out?
I literally just started one. So that actually I
Perfect.
think is coming out this month. The folks in the PR world, they were like, you need some personal branding. So they called it the Povlitz Playbook.
I love
So I
it.
guess first edition of the Povlitz Playbook comes out later this month.
Be sure to sign up, subscribe to that. Tons of good information will come from that. Adam, thank you again. I know this busy stretch about to come to a close here for you, and appreciate you taking some time to chat with us here this month and everything in the cleaning industry.
Pleasure's all mine, Tim.
That will complete this month's edition of the Business of Cleaning podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and your comments to appear on next month's episode. From everyone at Janitorial Manager, our guest Adam Povlitz, I'm Tim Clagg saying so long until next time.